Welcome to Demented Squirrel Crafts. This week we are making a Lunakins inspired by my neighbour Totoro in celebration of Miyazaki's birthday this month. So we're starting with a 12cm polystyrene egg and we're basing it in the usual way. I have linked a video on how I do my basing in the description so you can have a more in-depth, detailed, step-by-step system of how I do my basing. We do this basing so that the top layer has something to stick to and doesn't shrink. Once it's dried, we'll mix up some white and some peach color to make the tummy, to make this off-white. So you put it where you feel the tummy works best, and then you use the cap brush tool to make the fur texture in the tummy. So you literally just drag the cap brush tool up and down. This is real speed, this is not speeded up. You just basically rough up the tummy to make it look like fur. While that's drying, we'll make up the grey for the body, so it's black, a little bit of peach, some white in order to make up the grey colour for the body. I haven't mixed it completely because I like the little striations going through it, so we're going to make up the ears and the tail now. So you need some toothpicks and then you roll out little balls, roll them into sausages, make the ends pointy, and then you put them on the chopsticks. We make them at this point so that they have time to dry before we start the face and all the details so that you can handle them easier. So that's one. And then the second one, you need to make sure that it's to scale, that they both match in the same size. The tail is made with a similar shape, just tilted slightly upwards. I'm going to texture it with my seed stone from my nectarine because it gives a nice flattened fur effect. And then you just leave that to dry. It is dry. Now it's time to start the body. So what we want to do is we want to make little balls from our grey clay, roll them, put them on the edge. You start from the bottom and you work your way up, and you put them on and you smooth them down. So this is where it's like scales like a dragon or for a creature. This is the difference between a regular Totoro and my Lunakins, is the fact that this is an inspired one. You could, if you wanted to, just make all this fur. So you just want to go round and round and round until you get to a point where you can't hold it anymore. So this is speeded up so that you can just see how that it goes. The second layer you go in the middle of the first layer, the third layer you go in the middle of the second layer. So you can see how it looks at the end. So I normally at this point leave it to dry for a little bit so it's easier to hold for the second round, which is where you would put on the top part. So once it's dry, you can hold it much easier, and then you can put on the rest of the scales, working all the way up to the top of the head. Now for this one, I worked up so that the head, the very top of the head, is at the front. So you can see here, as I'm going round and round and round and round, you can see how it works. I didn't want to mix the grey so much, so I kept all the different little strings of black and some white and some grey in the middle to make it more interesting. So there you go. And then we leave that to dry before the next stage. So there you go. All done. While the body is drying completely, I made a little leaf to match the one that Totoro wears in the bus stop scene. So I made a little leaf shape in green, used toothpick to mark the lines on it, rolled out a little bit of sausage of clay to make the main leaf support vine, and then you just, as you can see there, you can just shape it into the shape you want, let it dry so it's ready to go on when we have the rest of the body all done. When the body is completely dry, this is the part where we make the face. So a little bit of cling film makes making the face easier because you can roll your ball in your shape, put it on to check your sizing and your placement without the new clay sticking to your dry clay. Because remember, it won't come off once it sticks together. So a little bit of cling film is your friend when you're trying to put two pieces together. But this only works if your clay inside is already completely dry. So you should have left your body for at least 24 hours at this point. So now we want to make our eyes. I quite often have a set of doll's eyes, like teddy bear eyes, on, so I can check what size eyes I want to make. If you have a set, you can use those to make your eyes. or you can use the end of a paintbrush or the end of a texture brush, or for me, the end of a toothbrush I use for texture. Then you add you chuck them on the floor first, but then you add little balls of white clay into those divots that you've made, press them down a little bit, repeat for another eyeball, because you need 2 eyeballs obviously, and then a little bit of black, like the tiniest speck of black, to go into the eyeballs. I have been lent a camera and I am not used to the focus on this camera at all yet, so my apologies for it being blurry and some parts in focus and some part not. It's a learning curve. So there's, my eyes are in place now and they're quite flat. So now when you press them onto your body, you want to use the palm of your hand in order to mold it to the shape of your body. So there you go, use your palm of your hand to shape it, make sure it's all good. And now we're adding in the little tummy decorations. So you make like a tiny little croissant and you add in. I like the Totoro with the 3 and the 4. This is also the point where you could add texture to the tummy decorations. I like to leave it smooth to match the body. And now we're on to the final touches. So we're going to add the tail. So you want to make sure it's symmetrical to the middle of the head at the back, like opposite the face. So you add a little bit of fresh clay between the 2 dried pieces, and that acts like a glue to attach them both together and bridge any gaps. And then you do exactly the same for the ears. You just make sure that they go in like that, and the other one goes in at the same sort of angle so that they match and are slightly symmetrical. There, he's looking pretty cool. And now we're just going to add in our leaf, and that's the last final bit. Again, a little bit of fresh foam to act as a glue. So we just put it on, and there we go. Ta-da! I hope you enjoyed this little creature making video in celebration of Miyazaki's birthday. And now I have my own little Totoro in my style to go with my other Lunakins, and I'm very happy. Now let's take some pretty pictures. I want to take this time to thank everybody who supported me through Patreon or with equipment. It's made a big difference, and hopefully I can continue making videos. Thanks for watching. Dear cat, you're not helping. You're not helping at all. I don't know what you're thinking.